So last week, we started kind of a mini-series titled Monday Church. And I think it's really important because if you know our DNA, if you haven't figured out yet, you're going to soon, we're all about not what gathers here on a Sunday, but what scatters there on a Monday, right? It's not the church that meets on Sundays across America that's going to change the world. It's the church that meets on Mondays in the marketplace, right? Come on, somebody, right? So it's not just about coming here. It's good. This is a great watering hole. You know, this isn't the place where you come to hell and get fed, right? You should be feeding yourself, right? Come on, somebody, right? And we come here to worship together. We come here to break bread together in our homes. And we gather as the church on a Sunday, and then we scatter on a Monday to go into the marketplace. And that marketplace might look like your school. It might look like your neighborhood. If you're a stay-at-home mom, it looks like your house and your, well, all that stuff, PTA. I mean, I get it. Everybody has a different marketplace. But I just want to submit to you that this is not the most important gathering of the week. This is good, but how we're going to reach the world is by taking the church out there. Come on, somebody, right? See, Jesus, when we look at his ministry, he interacted with people not just in the synagogue, but he went out there. He wasn't confined by the four walls of the church, and nor should we. Jesus hung out with sinners. Hello, right? And come on, he would find himself in a pub. He would touch the lepers. He would walk with sinners. He literally would dine with the heathen. I mean, what made it so difficult was Jesus was scandalous in regards to the religious institution. They didn't know what to do with it. Because they made all these rules, and he broke every one of them. Oh, you can't heal on the Sabbath. Oh, yeah, I can. You can't talk to that. You don't know what that woman has done. Oh, yeah, I do. You know, and even Jonah talked about the woman with the alabaster jar, and all the Pharisees were looking at him saying, how could you allow this woman, this prostitute, to touch you? If you only knew. And Jesus says, my heart you did it. See, Jesus penetrated the culture. And I cannot say this loud enough. We have to do it too. See, our job isn't just to come in here. We've got to penetrate the culture. And that comes from the top down. Even the pastors, you know, it's really interesting. When I was ministering to youth pastors for years, I would teach them to get out of the ivory tower, right? You got to get out of your office. You got to go into schools. You got to go into the marketplace. You can't just do your job. Your job isn't to just, you know, hang out in the church. Hello, otherwise you're going to die. Your church is going to die. Your youth ministry is going to tank. Because the kids need to see your face in the public square. Somebody just say amen right there. Guess what? The church, for it to grow, is going to need you to release your face in the marketplace. See, we learned last week, we talked about, 2 Corinthians 5:20, where it says, we are therefore Christ's ambassadors, right? Look at your neighbor right now and say, you're an ambassador for Christ. That's right, you are. See, we learned we are all ambassadors, and it's as though Christ were making his appeal through us. We learned that the word appeal means invitation. In other words, when we go out into the world, right, you are literally God's invitation to the world to know him. That's huge. You are God's written invitation. So you got to get this. It's not about the church with the biggest sign or the church with the biggest lights or what have you. It's the church with the biggest people. The people who get it. The people who go out into the world, into the highways and byways, and compel people to want to know God because God is all over them. Somebody shout amen right there. Yeah. So we talked about how the marketplace is the more authentic showroom for Christianity. It's not here. It's there. You know, people will be drawn unto the kingdom because of you, not me. I talked to you about the Monday church mandate, how God said, we looked at the book of John, we looked at how God said, you're salt and light. And we talked about how the first thing we do is get out of the shaker. We got to get out to get salt on the community, right? Then we talked about light. Here's Jesus. He said this when he was on the earth. He said, hey, I am the light of the world, right? And then he left. And when he left, he said, now you're the light of the world. In other words, if we're the light of the world now, because he's not, that means the only light that's going to expose out there is you. Light illuminates. See this? And you will illuminate wherever you go, whether it be at the bus barn or the school or wherever you go. You will illuminate your workplace. Your workplace, watch this, the atmosphere and your workplace should be a little different because you're in it. Yes. Wow, that's really good. Thank you, Pastor. I told you there's 3 things we do, little mini steps to be a Monday church person. And I told you the first thing is make sure you take your unseen partner with you. The Bible says that you carry the presence of God. You literally carry him wherever you go. Why? Because he lives in you, right? You carry that. So when you amp up and magnify road rage or what have you, you're not carrying the presence, you're carrying your busyness. Hello. You had Jesus living in you. That means your fuse shouldn't be this long. Here's what I've learned. If we're in vital union with Jesus, then our fuse gets a lot longer. It's hard to amp up on somebody when they do you wrong, when you just got out of the Word. Somebody say, amen. Right? So God's called us to literally walk out and live with this unseen partner. He is Jesus living in you. They're not talking about how we need to transform our attitude. In other words, Paul said this. He said, do all things, whatever you do all things as unto me. So we change the attitude that I'm not just working to collect a paycheck. I'm working to represent Jesus to my world. I'm going to school not just to get a grade and maybe get into college. I'm going to school because it is the biggest mission field I will ever have in my life. And after that I said, obviously, the third thing is translate your job into your mission field. Meaning, you may be a plumber, and you may wake up on Monday and you put on plumber clothes, but before you're even a plumber, your number one call is to be a what? A disciple. What does a disciple do? A disciple follows Jesus. What did Jesus say the disciples are to do? They're supposed to emulate him. And what did he do? Well, he went and he did what? He went to the world. So guess what God's saying for us to do? To go into the world. To show your face. To be an ambassador for him. Somebody look at your neighbor and say, that's truth right there. So that's where I kind of left you guys off, right there. And so now today, I know when I talk to people, and I've had conversations with people about last week, and I know people in their heart, they're like, yeah, I get it. I want to do that. I want to be used by God. I want to be light. I want to be salt. But Pastor, I don't know how to start a spiritual conversation. Can anybody agree with that? Put your hand in the air like you care right now. Like 5 of you already told me that, so all you others are lying. Do you know how to start a spiritual conversation? There are books written. Bill Hybels wrote a book, Just Walk Across the Room. There's volumes of books about how to start a spiritual conversation. I just want to make sure you understand. I'm talking to you, not your neighbor. I'm talking to each one of you. It is on you. What I'm saying is literally laying on your shoulders. It's a weighty thing to represent the King, right? But it's not yours to bear alone. He's in you. Come on, somebody. And so I want to make sure you're not thinking I'm talking about the neighbor next to you, right? It's on you. Every one of us. It is our responsibility. The reason why America this morning is packed with people in the churches on Sundays is because somebody told them about Jesus. And so the moment that mandate stops, we stop being Monday church, is when the church begins to die. Come on, somebody, right? So I want to make sure you know I'm not talking to your neighbor, I'm talking to you. I'm making eye contact with every one of you. Why? Because it's on you today and it's on me. This is not the pastor's job to make sheep. Sheep beget sheep. I don't want to give you a biology lesson here. That's really weird, right? Pastors don't make sheep, right? Our job is to raise up the people to do the work of the ministry. What is the ministry? But to reproduce the King. All right, with that being said, there's a plan. Jesus didn't leave us alone. The books are great. The best book in the world is right here, right? So I think if you look at Jesus' plan, and it's all over the New Testament, how did Jesus start spiritual conversations? I want to go there real quick. We're going to go to John chapter 4. And I'm going to read this. If you want to turn there right now, it would be helpful. John 4. I'm going to read just the story of the Samaritan woman. And then I believe there's some stuff we can kind of glean from there and unpack for us this morning so we can learn a little bit. You might want to whip out phone or paper, take some notes, because I'm hoping and praying that everyone in the house today, and it's not by chance that we're doing this right before Easter, because I really believe God wants to release His goodness through you in the next 2 weeks. Come on, somebody, amen? So listen to this. This is Jesus in his dealings with this woman of the Samaritans. Okay, so it says, now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, it says he left Judea and departed again for Galilee. And it says he had to pass through Samaria. What that means is he's saying he could have gone around Samaria, but he didn't. He went into Samaria. And I'll unpack that for a moment and how big of a deal that is, right? So he went into Samaria, and he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, so Jesus, wearied from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman from Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, give me a drink. For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. And the Samaritan woman said to him, how is it that you, a Jew, can ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. I'll unpack that too. It's kind of a great story. Jesus answered her. He said, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. And the woman said to him, sir, you have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob? And he gave us this well, and he drank from it himself, as did his sons and livestock. And Jesus said to her, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I give him will never thirst again. The water that I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Oh, that's crazy. The woman said to him, sir, give me this water, right? So that I will be thirsty, or I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water again. And Jesus said to her, this is crazy, watch this. He said, we'll call your husband. That's crazy. If you're this woman, and Jesus just pinpointed this question, go call your husband and come here. And the woman answered him, well, I have no husband. And Jesus said to her, you're right in saying I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one that you now have is not your husband. Well, what you have said is true. The woman said to him, sir, I perceive that you're a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you say that in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship. And Jesus said to her, woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. The word you worship what you do not know. We worship what we know. For salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. That's so good. For the Father is seeking, that's great. Son, God is seeking worshipers, people. That's so good. So for the Father is seeking such people as to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. The woman said to him, I know the Messiah is coming. He was called the Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. And Jesus said to her, it is I who you speak of. Now listen, I know there's a lot to digest. But there's a lot in there that we can learn about how to start a conversation with the people around us. And so I'm going to unpack and give you 6 things that I believe that if we employ these, because you don't have to make it up, and Jesus gave us the example. Jesus says, do as I have done. And so therefore, if we do what he's done in this situation, how many know those conversations will come a lot easier? And so here we go, whip out pen. I want you to write this down. Jesus' strategy for starting spiritual conversations. And the first thing is this, just start. Just start. Start a conversation with literally anyone. Don't wait for the right person. Just start talking. Start telling people about who this one is that you love so much. Be purposeful. I mean, Jesus here, this is crazy, is talking to the enemy of the Jews. Now, I'll unpack that in a few moments, but this is, he couldn't talk to anybody, but he specifically went after this one people group that were at odds with Jerusalem. They were at odds with every Jew. This is crazy. He gives us this example that don't just talk to the easy people. Don't just start conversations with the people that you're comfortable with. Start conversations with people you have no idea how they're going to receive you. No risk. Come on, people. No reward. Great risk. What? Great reward. This woman was a Samaritan. Ooh. Not only that, she's a woman. And get this, in Jewish culture, a Jewish man cannot talk to any woman alone. So Jesus is breaking 2 rules. I told you, he's scandalizing the religious system. he goes after and speaks to a Samaritan woman, and as the guys came back, they're like, why is he talking to her? Well, why is he talking to her? Hello? And yet he had no problem talking to this woman. Why? Watch this, so important. Because he was just waiting to talk to someone, the first person who would walk into his presence. Now get this. Try this sometime. Ask God, say, Lord, help me to know who to talk to. In fact, God, here's what I want you to do. The next person that comes into my circle, I'm going to talk to him about you. Just try him. Just give it a shot. I remember when I was younger, not a long time ago, this is way back in the day, but I remember I would snowboard. And back in the day when I got my snowboard, they would let us on the chairlift. We had to walk up. And I had a wood burden board, which I still had. It was worth a lot of money. And I remember I put stickers all over my wood burden board, Jesus stickers. And about 2 years into it, they started at ski acres to allow us, I think they call it the summit now, whatever. They began to allow us to take and go up the chairlift. So what I would do is I would come down and I would, the board down, and then I'd sit there because I'd always be alone because nobody else, well, not very many people snowboarding. And I'd wait and I'd watch people come in, and if you're solo, you get to kind of cut in line. Praise God, smart idea, by the way, just so you know. And so I'm watching, and nobody likes, back in the day, they didn't like the snowboarder because he messed up everybody when they got off the chairlift. Right? So I would find, I just ask God, which one? Which one? And I just keep it in there, right? I get in and I'd sit down and here we go. And I 2 skiers on this side, 2 on this side, and my board in the middle, and my board would be covered with snow. And I'd have a captive audience for about 5 to 7 minutes. And then I'd kick the snow off my board, and then here's Jesus all over my board. And so it would give me this opportunity to, because every kid would look at my board and they'd say, why do you have Jesus on your board? Da-da-da. I can't tell you, no exaggeration, of the dozens and dozens of people I had the privilege of leading to Christ just because I put a sticker on my board. Now, don't be cheesy and put a sticker on the back of your car, because that doesn't encourage face-to-face conversation. But when you got a captive audience, come on, somebody. In an elevator, what a great time, right? Oh, that's awesome. Just, you can like pull the fire alarm and just, hey! Don't do that, I'm joking about that, but hey. The bottom line, just start. Just start talking. Try starting. Start conversation. It's okay to put a demand on God. It's okay to say, God, the next person comes in, that's the person, whatever. It's okay. Why? Gideon did it. He laid a freeze. It's okay to do that. It's okay to say, God, I'm looking for a person with a red sweatshirt on, with dark hair, and the first person like that comes to the door, I'm going to share with them my story. I'm going to start a conversation. What kind of risk is that? Well, guess what? You don't have to tell them all about Jesus. Just start the conversation, because that's where it starts. John 21 said this. Again, 21:6. He said to the disciples, he said, hey guys, throw your net on the other side of the boat. They're like, huh? Who are you? He said, no, to throw it out. Well, we haven't caught any fish all night long. In another place he says, hey, go out a little deeper. Why? Because you're comfortable there. I think too many people are fishing on the wrong side of the boat. God said you're a fisherman, right? Come on, somebody. In other words, you're reaching to the people who are comfortable to reach. I'm telling you, if you learn to start spiritual conversations with complete strangers, sometimes you'll have better success. Jesus said, throw it on the other side. Go to the place where it's not comfortable. And guess what happened? They hauled in such a load of fish, they couldn't even contain them. They had to call their friends over, and it almost capsized both the boats. I'm telling you, there's a better way to fish. Thank you, I appreciate it, buddy. Good stuff. See, here's what I know. There's 2 types of time. Chronos time and Kairos time. Yes. Chronos time is that time right there. Right now, it is exactly 11:22. That's Chronos time. There's another time called Kairos time. Kairos time is a fixed time, a fixed place in space, a divine appointment. Right now. And in that moment, God has set something in motion for you to have a person come into your sphere, and that moment is your opportunity. They are packed full of questions. They're packed full of their hearing. They're ready. They're seeking. And God gives us these divine appointments all the time. And if the church will just stop just gathering on Sundays, but scatter on Mondays, and ask God for those Kairos moments, how many know you're going to see a crazy outpouring of His love? Yes. I want everybody to start taking PCP. It'll change our church. You need to find PCP. Say that word, PCP. That means potential conversation partner. Say it again, PCP. Ask God every morning, give me a potential conversation partner. Someone on the bus or somewhere you're at, give me something. Change it up a little bit. Number 2, Jesus' plan for starting spiritual conversation, not just start a convo by opening your mouth, hello, but number 2, adjust your life pattern to make the conversation possible. Now, Jesus, come on, He met this woman when He was on a trip. He was on a journey. He didn't have to go through Samaria, but He decided to go through Samaria. Now, just so you know, there's a problem here. And the issue was, it goes back to Rehoboam and Jeroboam, right? It goes back to when Israel split. You had Judah and you had Israel. And what happened is the people of the north, okay, the 2 tribes that went up there, they began to kind of like intermarry with the people that lived in the land. And they would, you know, they go back down to Jerusalem to do their offerings and their sacrifices. But there came a day when they decided not to do that. And when they separated that, there's this rift, right? Now, all of a sudden, now the Jews are down here going, wait a minute. You guys aren't coming down here anymore? That's a problem. Oh, by the way, you're intermarrying? That's a problem, right? So the Samaritans, they end up being the Samaritans. It's a problem. They're like, well, we're the true church. So come on. We worship. You guys should come up here to worship. And then you have the Jews down south. They're like, no. Rehoboam is like, no, we're the real place to worship. And so this began, watch this, you can read it in your Bible. And so all of a sudden now this rift happens. It's us against them. Hello, it kind of sounds like Churchology 101, right? And so now you got this big chasm between the two. And that's why this woman says, hey, you're telling us to worship in Jerusalem, but us Samaritans, we worship differently. And Jesus says, it's not about location. He said it's about true worshipers, not worrying about where they're going to worship, if they worship in spirit and truth. That's good stuff. Thanks, Pastor. I really appreciate it. Adjust your pattern. Adjust your pattern. In other words, listen, if Jesus went into his enemy's camp, Jesus, a Jew, he went into Samaria, maybe it might be time for you, I don't know, pick your Samaria. Pick the people that you normally wouldn't go minister to. Or you wouldn't normally go have a conversation with, right? Pick your people. Maybe it might be the teller at Winco. Maybe it might be the people at the door of Walmart. I don't know who your Samaritans are. Maybe it might be a tax person or a lawyer, because how many know they're all snakes, right? I don't know. But pick your people. Why? Because I'm telling you, there's something there that God wants you to unfold. Come on, somebody. Jesus was on a trip. I mean, I go on trips all the time. This is cool. When you go on a trip, you don't have, why do you worry about starting a conversation with somebody? It's like you'll never see him again. We're going to Montana. We went to Montana the other day. It was a 15-hour drive. I got off out of the truck at one point. It's 21 degrees below zero. I walked into this little mini market, and I just looked at the lady. I said, dear God, Jesus, hallelujah, God, I love your heat. And she goes, you must be a Christian. Yeah, how'd you know? And we have this conversation started. It's kind of cool, you know. I don't care, I'm never going to see the lady again. It's your Samaria. You know, we got to change our pattern. Hello, I'm just saying this isn't no get better. But in all your circle of influences with church people, honey, Houston, we got a problem. You've got to have friends in places that they don't know Christ. You've got to have people like that. God wants to speak to you. He wants to tell you, you got to change your route. I told you the story years ago, but me and Derek, he's going to be here soon, and we went down to Fred Meyer, and we got milk, and we were going to come back home, and I felt the Spirit of God say to me, hey, this is not a regular milk run. And I don't know, what do we do? And this is years ago. And I remember, I said, Derek, take a left. And I said, Derek, take a right. Derek, take a left, take a right. And I know I'm not getting the milk. We're going to give it to somebody else. I stop here, and I swear to you, we did not know who this lady was, and I just knew we were supposed to stop here, and I got the milk, and I took it out of the car, and I'm walking up, and this lady comes out the door. It's kind of an older house down in Sumner, and she comes walking out the door with a little change purse, and I said, here, and I gave her the milk. And she looked at me, and her husband was at the door. And actually, I got that backwards. It was a husband, and the woman was at the door holding her son, and I handed him the milk. And she goes, how'd you know we needed milk? I go, I didn't. I felt we were praying, and God said to come over here and get milk. And she starts crying, and they had taken pennies in her purse. Pennies. And he was going to go to the store with pennies and buy milk. And we handed her 2 gallons of milk and said, hey, Jesus loves you. Now, we didn't sit there and lead her to Christ and give her the tenets of faith and all the... No, we just loved her. Sometimes it just takes love, right? The Bible says someone pours out seeds, somebody waters, but God makes it grow. Come on, somebody, that's really good. Listen, it still happens today. God wants you to go on a milk run. If we'll just listen to Him. God wants to use you. There are divine appointments, but we have to change up our patterns. What that may mean is maybe join a gym. It might mean going to a different coffee shop. It might mean, whatever, join a sports club. I don't know what it means for you. Go shop at a different store. Sit by a different student in school. Whatever it takes. If you're not regularly talking to people who you don't know and who don't know Jesus, you might want to change your tactic. Somebody say, I got it. I think it's really important to change your tactic. Even myself included, I changed my tactic this week. I decided this week for the first time to be a sub. That's right. Substitute teacher James. And I walk through the door, and the first thing I see is Coach Thomas busting up laughing. He's like, oh, dear God, these kids are in for it, right? Because I'm a coach, I'm not a sub, but I felt like, I need to stretch a little bit here. I don't need the money. I did it because I felt like I needed to love these kids and love the teachers and all that. And I hope that my example would be an example to you. And I tell you, I was so nervous. I was panicking the night before. I'm like, dear God. She pushed a button for me practically. Because I have to accept it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. But I'm a teacher. I can't do that. No. Boom. Oh, dear God. So I show up and all these little minions come to the door. I have like an hour, like a study hour beforehand to get prepared. And then the principal comes in and goes, oh, that's not for you. I'm going to pull you into another class. So I'm doing 7th grade, like Washington State history. I'll do it again. You know why? Because I got to hang out with some really cool teachers. And I got to, you can't preach Jesus, but how many know he leads? Yeah. These kids all want to know, hey, what do you do? What's your real job? I'm a pastor. What's that? Like, you got something to do with milk. What do you mean milk? Pasteurized. I don't know. You like, are you a farmer? 3. Jesus' plan for starting spiritual conversation, not only start a convo with anyone, not only adjust your life pattern, hello, just chat about everyday life. You don't have to be a theologian, right? Come on. Jesus begins with a very deep question. Can you give me a glass of water? Wow. Practicing it sometimes is crazy. What a question. Hey, can you help me with this? There's no theology behind that. He doesn't say, hey, you're lost, you're messed up, you're finding your identity through sexual activity in any kind of male relationship, you're messed up, you need me, boom, crack-a-lot. That's not what he did. He said, can you give me a cup of water? And this woman knew, wow, who are you? You're a Jew, you can't talk to me. First of all, I'm a Samaritan, I'm a woman. You can't do this. And Jesus is like, who said I can't do it? Jesus knew something we need to understand. That any serious and authentic relationship is just a hair's breadth away from the gospel. In other words, you can tie Jesus into literally everything. You can. You can tie him into everything. Why? Because he's in everything. God is in everything. And I'm telling you, whether you believe it or not, this is going to be controversial, but whether you believe it or not, every single person is a seeker. Everybody. And you might think, well, yeah, but boy, I don't know, Stephen Hawking, really? I don't know about that. Hey, you know, he died this week. And I don't know. Probably one of the smartest men on the planet, but I'm telling you, even Stephen Hawking, every person is a seeker. Why? Because Ecclesiastes says this in 3:11, God has put eternity on the heart of every man. I've seen it, I've walked in it, I've watched people, I've done funerals, and a ton of them. I've done funerals where people have shot each other. I've done funerals where just horrific things. I don't even know these people. It's how I paid the bills when I first planted Eastpointe. I'm telling you, every time I did a funeral, people are all seeking truth. They're all seeking something. I remember at one funeral, I got asked by a woman, and she just didn't know. She's like, I need somebody. I don't know how to talk to this family. There's a friend with this guy. He ended up having a brain tumor, and he's on hospice at home. Would you come and just be with the family? They don't know Christ at all. And I said, sure. And so I go over, and I literally walk into this house, and here's this kid, I don't know, 20, 18 years old, and he looked like Elephant Man. His head was like this big, no kidding. He couldn't see, he couldn't talk. He was laying there, and his eyes were shut. And the mother said, she goes, you can't communicate with him, but we kind of can. And how's that work? She goes, well, you have to hold his hand. You can ask him questions. And as you ask him questions, you can squeeze, like 1 pump for yes, 2 pumps for no. And so I said, okay, so I went in there, and the guy's on death's door, and so he's just laying there, big head, and his eyes were sealed shut, and just on his side, and I grabbed his hand, limp, everything's limp, and I grabbed his hand, and I said, hey, my name is James. I understand your name is Pete. And I said, do you understand what I'm saying? 1 pump yes, 2 pumps no. Bam, pump my hand. Okay, cool. I said, hey, listen, I've been asked to come here because I know that you're right there on Jesus' door. And I just want to know, are you ready to see him? Do you want to receive him and crown him king? 1 pump yes, 2 pumps no. Boom, boom. I said, bro, are you sure? Because I know, they tell me you could die today. And I'm telling you, he loves you so much. And he wants to cover you with his grace. It's not too late. You could have lived like hell all your life, but you're at this place right now, and God will receive you today. Are you sure? 1 pump yes, 2 pumps no. Boom. And about then, I knew something was going on, because this guy has something in his heart of bitterness towards the Father. So I said, hey, I'm going to tell you what I asked him, and don't get bitter, okay? I said, is your dad a douchebag? I'm speaking his language. 1 pump, yes, bam. And I said, was your dad abusive to you growing up? 1 pump, yes, 2 pumps, bam. I said, bro, listen. The Father in heaven is not your Father on earth. And the Father in heaven wants you to know he loves you. And he grieved every time your dad would beat you. Every time your father would treat you wrong. Every single time your Father in heaven would grieve. And this kid, 19 years old, with a head 3 times the size of a normal kid, began to weep. Tears coming out of his sealed shut eyes. And I said, he loves you so much, bro. I said, you just gotta give it up. He's not the same dad. Don't equate this. He's not that. He loves you. He's waiting for you. He is not holding anything against you. Do you want to receive him? Bam! Yes. I got to lead this kid to Christ, and he died about 8 hours later. A week later, I'm sitting in front of a crowded place. And I mean to shout, folks. There was not anything in that room that didn't have leather or metal hanging out of his face. It was crazy. It looked like hell's angels. Hello? And I got to pray and lead these people. I mean, you would not believe. When I looked at that crowd and I said, hey, Pete gave his heart to Christ. They were like, no. And I told them the whole story. In that place, I kid you not, like 3/4 of them all gave their heart to Christ. Come on, somebody. And you know why? It started because somebody went to chat about it. They opened up the door because somebody said, hey, would you come pray for my nephew? You can talk about anything. Just people love stories. Just start chatting, just talk. Just talk about the score. Talk about the lame Seahawks who gave me their whole team. Talk about whatever. Talk about your game, what's going on in your world. Talk about it. Listen, people in our culture don't do face-to-face. They do face-to-phone. Put the phone away. Jesus' plan for starting spiritual conversation. Number 1, I said, start a convo with anyone. Just open your mouth. Number 2, I said, adjust your life pattern. And number 3, I said, just chat. And number 4, ask questions. Just start asking questions. I mean, wow, Jesus said, hey, go find your husband. He knew that was going to start a question. Wow, how many husbands do you have? Just start asking questions. He's God. He can ask whatever he wants. But I'm telling you, he didn't say you're looking for love in all the wrong place. He didn't say that. He said, where's your husband? He used a razor-sharp question that he knew went right into what this woman and how she found her identity. She found her identity in man. And so he went right after that. And I'm telling you right now, folks, there's no better thing to say than that thing that God tells you to say. That one thing. Like that boy, like Pete, I said, tell me about your dad. And I'm telling you, it's not because I'm Pastor Local. No, everybody in this room, you all have the capacity to hear the sound of God's voice. What did Jesus say? He said, my people know the sound of my voice. I know them and they follow me. You know what that word follow means? That follow doesn't mean you just get behind like a chickadee in the no. But the word follow means you replicate what he does. So he says, my sheep, you and me, we know the sound of his voice. So God, listen, the most important thing we teach here at Eastpointe is A, salvation, and B, hearing the sound of God's voice.
Amen.
Because you can't be his voice if you don't learn how to hear his voice. Come on, somebody. That's why we do a thing called a prophetic conference. Because we want people to learn how to hear the sound of God's voice. It's not weird. It's not amplified in some weird, funky way. People are like barking or pecking like chickens. Come on, folks. We're teaching people how to hear God. That's what next week is all about. And how does God talk? Well, sometimes he's audible. I've heard him say twice to me 2 words. Stop. And it didn't sound like Oprah Winfrey. It was a male's voice. Stop. That's a long story, but I stopped. My mentor, Ron Key, said, I remember he was telling me about his dad dying, and he was mad at God. He was getting on the I-5, and God spoke. He was blaming God. He would say, why did you take my dad? And God said to him, why not? And he told me that story. I know God speaks audibly, but I've been doing this a long time, twice. But see, here's what I know. God is spirit. You're a spirit. You're made in the image of God, so he'll speak to your spirit a lot. So we need to tune in and turn down the volume of life and turn up the volume of your walk with Jesus and listen to him. He will speak to you. Oftentimes he'll speak through his word, but you'll never get the word from the Lord if you don't read the word.
Amen.
He speaks through it. He'll give you divine revelation. Sometimes he'll speak through other people. Oftentimes he'll speak through dreams. And bottom line is God still speaks. He's speaking today. Is anybody listening? I mean, there's no better question to ask somebody than the very question that God wants you to ask them. Like, how's your relationship with your dad? That's a kingdom thing. Or, how many husbands do you have? Number 5, listen to their questions. Then answer the question behind the question. That's what he did with this woman. He listened to their question. The woman is wanting to know whether, the Jewish people, if they worship in the Jewish temple, or do the Samaritan people worship in their place of worship. And Jesus wasn't interested in debating theology. He knows. She was asking whether the Jews and Samaritans are the ones who are the real religious people. He knew that, and this is amazing. Oh, I love this. He didn't point her, watch this, to a place of worship. He said, it's not about where you go. It's about your personal relationship with me. That's crazy. Just try this. See, in other words, don't get caught up in theological arguments. I'll give you a real good example. This is right fresh in the year 2018. If you start talking to somebody about the biblical teaching on homosexuality, that is not necessarily an invitation to explain biblical sexual ethics. If somebody tries to engage you in a conversation about biblical sexual ethics, don't fight with them. What they're really asking you is the question behind the question is they're saying, am I welcome in your Christian community? They're saying, are you going to judge me? They're saying, are you going to look down at me? Christians, we can't be that. We cannot say, oh, you're wrong. Because then you just played the role of the Pharisee. Dang, preacher, that's good. Well, yeah, it is. Because it's kingdom. Come on, somebody. Last but not least, and I end with this. Jesus' plan for starting spiritual conversation. Start, just open your mouth. Hello. Number 2, I said, adjust your pattern. Number 3, I said, just chat about life. Just keep chatting. Just talk with people. Don't look at your phone. Talk. Ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. And then listen to, then answer the question behind the question like Jesus did. And then number 6, just share Jesus. I don't know how. I don't either. I just talk. You can talk about theology and you're going to get stumped. But guess what? No one can take away your experience with God. Just talk. If it leads that way, if the conversation starts to flow that way, then just talk about God. Just talk about it. And then the last thing, and I end with this. You stand your feet, please. This is really good. There's one overlying principle we got to get. And I'm ending with this today, and then we're going to pray for people. And this is Jesus. This is him speaking through his disciples. And this is Peter and John. They had been caught up in the city. They've been talking about Christ, and they got pulled before the Sanhedrin. They got pulled in front of the council of the city. And this is what happened. It says, now when they're being judged. They're trying to figure out if they should stone them and put them to death. It says, now when the Sadducees, the council, it says, when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were, watch this, uneducated common men. That means they weren't in theology school. They weren't in seminary. They weren't in Bible college. They were uneducated, but they're common. In other words, they're just like you and me. They're just common people. When they realized and recognized that they're common folk, it says they were astonished. Oh, it's so good. See, what's going to dazzle people isn't your pedigree. It's when you look like the sun. Because it says they were astonished and they recognized that they had been with Jesus. Folks, when you spend time with the King, when you spend time with the Father, you're going to begin to take on the characteristics of your Father. Okay? The more time you spend with him, the more he's going to burn his image on your life. All that I said today means nothing if you have no devotional life. The church that meets on Sunday is wonderful. And she's got to get out of the church and into the streets on Monday. She better have to, please. Father, we're so grateful for your goodness, God. Thank you so much for your grace. God, I'm just blessed to look at this army of people and to know how much you've done and are doing within our people, God. You're so good. And Lord, I look out at the city. God, and the city cries out. The city cries out for you. There's so many that don't know you, but God, they're seeking. God, when tragedy comes, even with Kozai passing away this week, Cameron's life, what an opportunity, God, just to bring the love of God to the community. Lord, help us, God, to father this community well. God, I pray that we would get out of this mindset of the four walls of the church and begin to take you wherever we go. God, I pray for spiritual conversations and Kairos moments. Lord, I pray even today, God, that there be just a movement in your people, God, that we move and change the way we think, God, in returns to regards to how we view ourselves, that we are your mouthpieces. And so real quick, with nobody looking around the room, I'm just curious, is there anyone here, and I told you the most important thing, the underlying, just the deepest truth, is that none of this matters if we don't know him. Because you represent him. If you don't know him, you can't represent him. So I just real quick, I want to ask you, maybe you're here, come to the doors, or maybe you used to belong to a religious institution, and some of what I'm saying is like, it's just crazy to you, and you're like, well, you know, James, I don't know that there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, I want to know him more. I want to step up in that area. I want to crown him king today. So really, all over the room, if you're here today and you're saying, James, I just want to make that step. I want to take that leap of faith. And I want to pray for you real quick. So all over the room, it's really easy with this stage. I can see you now. If you're here and you're saying, James, I want to know him. On your left-hand side, I want you to look and make eye contact with me. All over from the front to the back. No one's looking around. Just make eye contact with me. And I'm looking on your left-hand side. If you're looking at me, that's what you're looking at before. So just on your left-hand side, your eyes are saying, James, I want to know him. Which one? That's so good. Good. That it, good? Sweet. Anybody else? There's 3 of you so far. That's a great decision, by the way. It's a great decision. I'm in the middle section. There's 3. Anybody want to join these 3 today? Just with their eyes looking up towards me. They're saying, yes, Jesus, I want to crown you king. Anybody else in the center section here? I'm seeing just people over here. I see, I got you, buddy. Is there anybody on the far right? I got 4 or 5 of you so far. Anybody on the far right? Before I shut this door, I just want to pray. Is there anybody else that would say, James, I just want, is that what you want, dude? I got you. Anybody else? Is that what you want? I don't care how young you are. If you're looking at me, do you want that? All right. Father, thank you so much for this wonderful group of people. God, thank you, Lord, that today we can crown you king. So let's say this prayer together. Can we just join with these 4 or 5 people, 6, I think. Let's just pray and agree with them. Say, dear Jesus, thank you for loving me. Thank you for your goodness. Today, I'm stepping over the line of faith. I'm crowning you king. I don't want to be religious. I want to represent you. So teach me your ways, O God, and I will walk in your truth. In Jesus' name. And everybody said amen. Come on, give God a hand. So good. So good. So I want the prayer team to come up on both sides, if you would. Here's how we're going to end today. Just for a moment, just on this side. If you're here and you need a miracle, we do this every week. We just believe that God can and will do his goodness, right? We're going to do something a little different. Because we're new to this area. But we're not going to change our DNA, right? Our DNA is one by which we believe that God can and will do miracles. And so if you're here today and you need something from the Lord, maybe you need a healing in your body, maybe your marriage needs healing, then we want to pray for you and just pray over you, right? So if that's you, just come quickly right now. Just come, move up here right now. Come up here. If people just need something, maybe you want to agree for somebody else. Maybe there's somebody sick amongst you. Maybe you got a sick mom or dad or whatever, and you need somebody to pray over you and agree with you. I know we've got sick people right now, and we just pray God's goodness. I know Tammy's grandmother is 101 years old, and she's on death's door. Hello? That's crazy. I mean, you celebrate that, right? I mean, at a memorial service, there'll be nobody there because they're all gone already. Hello. But she knows Jesus. But yet, I know this, the tender's heart there. We've got another family, they lost somebody as well. So I know there's heartache in the house. So we just want to pray for nobody. That's you. Quickly. Sue, would you come up and just bless her people real quick?
Gotta love them.
And then when she says amen, it's time to get work, get busy. We're going to pray through the chaos. I know it's kind of crazy. We're going to believe God, for your life, but we're going to continue to pray. You can stack your chairs up in groups of 9. That would really help us out. Don't run out. Help us to clean this mess up, because we all love you and we need you. Amen. So, take us.
Jesus, we just thank you. You know, such a powerful message, amen? Do you know that your one yes out of obedience can change a nation? Your one yes out of obedience can change a life. Don't you want to be a life changer? Man, that is such a desire of my heart. If that's a desire of your heart, just lift your hand. God, I want to be a world changer. I don't want it to just be words or a cliche on my Instagram or my Facebook, but I truly want to be a world changer and make a difference for you. God, that my one yes will change the world, will change a life. Get past the fear of rejection. Jesus, we love you so much. God, we thank you that you are so faithful. God, we thank you that you are a miracle working God. Even through the impossible, where you think there's an impossible, there's a possible. That God wants to meet you this morning. He so wants to meet you. Whether this message penetrated your heart or not, he wants to meet you right now. Don't miss an opportunity for God to encounter you this morning. This can be a life-changing moment for you by just saying yes to him. Yes, I want to choose to do something different today. Yes, I am choosing to walk with you today. If it's your first time making that decision, or yes, God, I'm choosing to minister to my neighbor. God, I'm choosing to go out of my comfort zone at the coffee shop and talk about you. I'm choosing, even now I don't even know the words to say, just to open my mouth and trust you enough that you will use me and speak through me. Amen? Amen. If that's your cry, say amen. Amen. We love you, Jesus, so much. So if you don't leave this place without letting somebody agree with you in prayer, whatever your need is, or you just want them to agree with you, even for somebody you know, and just don't miss that opportunity. These people are amazing. They hear the voice of the Lord. If you just need an encouraging word, get up here and do that as well. So we just thank you for coming this morning. Have a blessed day.